Every morning, billions of people squeeze a little ribbon of minty paste onto a brush without giving it a second thought. But here's a question that sounds simple and isn't. What did humans do for the other 99% of history? Before Colgate, before fluoride, before the tube even existed? The answer involves crushed eggshells, burnt bread, powdered charcoal, and, brace yourself, human urine. This is the strange, occasionally disgusting, genuinely fascinating history of how we learned to clean our teeth. Stick around, because the story of toothpaste is really the story of human vanity, chemistry, and our stubborn refusal to accept bad breath. Section 1. The Ancient World. Let's go back. Not decades, not centuries, millennia. The earliest evidence of dental hygiene comes from ancient Egypt, around 5000 BC, long before toothbrushes existed. Egyptians created a paste using a mixture of powdered ox hooves, ashes, burnt eggshells, and pumice. They applied it with their fingers or small twigs, essentially inventing the world's first exfoliating scrub for teeth. Around the same era, the Egyptians also used something called a chew stick, a twig with a frayed end, used almost like a primitive toothbrush. Variations of this exact idea would persist in different cultures for thousands of years afterward. Meanwhile, in ancient Greece and Rome, things got more elaborate and considerably more unpleasant. Greek physicians recommended abrasive powders made from crushed shells and talc, but the Romans took it further. They used urine as a mouth rinse. Yes, urine. It wasn't as random as it sounds. Urine contains ammonia, a compound that acts as a natural cleaning agent, and the Romans had actually stumbled onto real chemistry. Ammonia genuinely helps whiten teeth and break down grime. Wealthy Romans even imported urine from Portugal, believing it was more potent, creating what may be history's strangest luxury import. Section 2. Asia's Parallel Innovations. While Europe experimented with questionable liquids, China was developing something far more recognizable to us today. By around 500 BC, Chinese texts describe chewing on twigs from aromatic trees, and by the Tang dynasty, physicians had started recommending mixtures involving ginseng, herbal mints, and salt, ingredients whose descendants are still printed on toothpaste boxes today. China is also credited with pioneering something enormously important, the bristle toothbrush. Around the 1400s, Chinese innovators attached coarse bristles from the necks of cold climate pigs and hogs to bone or bamboo handles. When this design eventually reached Europe through trade routes, Europeans found the pig bristles too harsh and substituted softer horsehair instead, a decision that, frankly, wasn't much of an upgrade. In India, Ayurvedic medicine developed its own dental traditions, using neem twigs, a practice that persists in rural India even today, not out of nostalgia, but because neem contains genuine antibacterial compounds. Modern science has since confirmed what Ayurvedic practitioners understood intuitively for centuries. Section 3. Medieval and Early Modern Europe. Here's an uncomfortable truth. Documentaries don't always mention dental hygiene in medieval Europe actually regressed. Bathing was seen as unhealthy. Dental care was inconsistent at best. Most people relied on rubbing a cloth with salt or soot across their teeth, if they bothered at all. By the 18th century, things started improving, but the toothpaste of the era would horrify any modern dentist. Recipes commonly included crushed brick dust, burnt bread ground into charcoal-like powder, chalk, and even crushed china pottery. People were essentially sanding their enamel down in pursuit of white teeth, a painful irony, since many of these abrasive powders caused long-term damage rather than preventing it. Section 4. The 19th century. The 1800s is where the story shifts from folk remedy to actual product. In the early 1800s, tooth powders became commercially available in Britain and America. Often sold in jars, still gritty, still abrasive, but increasingly marketed and branded. Then, in 1850s, America, a dentist named Dr. Washington Sheffield, created one of the first cream-based toothpaste formulas, a paste rather than a powder. But there was a problem. How do you package a paste so it stays clean and usable? The answer came from an unlikely source: painters. Sheffield noticed that artists stored oil paints in collapsible metal tubes. He borrowed the idea in 1892, creating the first toothpaste tube, essentially the same design principle we still squeeze every single morning. This single packaging innovation changed dental hygiene forever. Toothpaste was no longer a jar of paste you dug into with dirty fingers. It became sealed, portable, and hygienic. Section 5. The Modern Era. By the early 1900s, toothpaste had entered mass production, but it still lacked the one ingredient that would define the entire 20th century of dental health: fluoride. Scientists in the early 1900s noticed a strange pattern. People in certain regions of Colorado had brown-stained teeth, but remarkably few cavities. After decades of research, researchers traced this to naturally high fluoride levels in the local water. This discovery reshaped dentistry. In 1955, Procter & Gamble launched Crest, the first fluoride toothpaste backed by clinical research and, crucially, the first to receive endorsement from the American Dental Association in 1960, a landmark moment that gave toothpaste real scientific credibility for the first time in its 5,000-year history. From there, the industry exploded: mint flavoring for freshness, foaming agents for that satisfying lather, whitening compounds, sensitivity formulas, and eventually the multi-billion-dollar global industry we recognize today. Section 6. Why this history matters. Step back for a moment, and this story reveals something bigger than just dental hygiene. For 5,000 years, humans across completely disconnected civilizations, Egypt, China, India, Rome, independently arrived at the same basic conclusion: abrasive powder plus some kind of binding agent equals cleaner teeth. They didn't have laboratories, they didn't have microscopes, but they had persistent trial and error observation, and it eventually converged into medicine that actually worked. The urine, the ash, the crushed bone, none of it was primitive nonsense. It was early, unrefined chemistry built by people trying to solve the same very human problem we still solve every morning. Nobody wants bad breath, and everybody wants to keep their teeth. So next time you squeeze that ribbon of paste onto your toothbrush, remember, you're taking part in a ritual with roots stretching back to the pyramids of Egypt, the imperial courts of China, and yes, even Roman urine imports. Modern toothpaste isn't just a hygiene product, it's the end result of 5,000 years of human experimentation. If you found this as fascinating as we did, let us know in the comments. And subscribe for more surprising histories hiding behind objects we use every single day.